Hey there, so welcome to video 3, where we're in the series where we're preparing to manage your mind and energy like a CEO. So let's talk about the 2 keys to time management. This is really important if you're busy. Even if you're not busy, it's super important to know how you're delegating your time. So this is where discipline comes in. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it or when you think you're too busy, right? Making time for it. And so one of the most practical ways where you can make time to work in this free learning center is to get yourself a calendar tool. I recommend Google Calendar to schedule your time. It's free, it comes with a Gmail account, and it's really easy to use. So let's talk about the different things we put on our calendar. Now, obviously, you have seen people use calendars for appointments. I'm sure you've used a calendar before, right? But did you know that you can also schedule on your calendar tasks and focus times? And so this is what I want to get into today. So let's talk about the tasks that can appear in your calendar. Ideally, we want to keep the personal separate from the business, okay? So you can combine them on one calendar, your personal tasks and business tasks. But I would encourage you to make sure that when you have set times for things, you're always keeping your business tasks separate from your personal tasks. So the tasks that I put on my calendar come in 2 forms. It's either one-time tasks or recurring tasks. A recurring task is something that has to be done more than once, and I can do it on the same time and day that I'd scheduled previously. So by setting recurring tasks, it's programming our bodies and our minds to instinctively get into the gear for that task. So for example, if it's running reports or prospecting, I put that on my calendar and I can do these same tasks on the same days and times repeatedly. So once we do this, it's going to help us form monotony with these tasks. The idea in business is to become detached from what you're doing, to not bring your emotions into it. Because if you do, it's going to bring you down fast. Because there's a lot, and if you don't get the results you want, it could sink you. So it's about detaching from the results and just showing up to do, okay? So that's why calendars help too. It can help you really tune into what needs to be done and not focus on what you're getting as a result of these things being done. So now that we've talked about the tasks, let's talk about the focus times. It's really important to set times for focusing. And if you find yourself really stumped when you're doing the worksheets in this free learning center, I would encourage you to set a focus time in your calendar. You're going to close the door. You're going to tell people, hey, this is my focus time. I can't talk right now. I can't answer the phone. I can't help with parenting. I can't cook. If something happens, you need to figure it out. This is my focus time. You know, my first office was what I called a concentration space, and I loved it because there was no windows. My body was facing a wall, and I literally was forced to concentrate when I sat in that room. So I also recommend positioning yourself in a way where you're forced to concentrate and not escape. You know, literally sit in a corner, literally face a wall. Make sure your back is to people so that it's just you and the computer, or you and the notebook, you and the worksheet, okay? And getting into the habit of forcing yourself to put these focus times in a calendar and put these tasks on a calendar are also going to force you to be disciplined, okay? It's getting into the routine of recording things, and this is really important in business. So this is not just for time's sake. It's preparing you to show up in sales and marketing for your business, which requires lots of monotonous tasks and lots of discipline to follow up with people and promote. So if you can do this in your calendar, you can do this with anything. Now, in the same way that we can place recurring tasks on our calendar, we can also place recurring focus times on our calendar. That way you're creating repetition and expectation for not only yourself, but your family, your household, so that they can know, hey, these are my focus times. Make sure that you don't need anything from me. And so it's working as a whole team in your household instead of just the one person who's running their business. when you're working on a business, you have to have everyone backing you up too. And that means being considerate of your focus times and your task times and when you need to just work on the business and be isolated. You know, I said there are 2 keys to time management, but I should actually add a third. So deadlines are usually attributed to a lot of stress and pressure, right? Especially when we get them from our bosses. But remember, you're your own boss now. And more than that, you're a CEO. So again, remove the pressure. It's not about pressure with deadlines. A deadline just is a guideline for you that, hey, my goal is to have this done by this time and day so that I can move forward to the next steps by this time and day. You don't fulfill obligations on your calendar and you don't meet a deadline. Don't worry. Don't put pressure on yourself. You just keep moving. That's the key in business, is to just keep moving with no emotion, no guilt, no shame, no judgment, okay? You just keep moving. If you miss a deadline, you evaluate, is this realistic? Can I really do this? And you give yourself more grace and you give yourself a better deadline, okay? So work with yourself. You're becoming your own partner right now as a CEO. You're really learning to manage yourself with compassion, with patience. And it's going to be the calendar that will really help you run your life. I always say the calendar runs me now. That's what happens to CEOs. The calendars run us. And what's great is we can also run the calendar, right? We can overrun the calendar if we want to. But the idea here is that we just want to form the skills to show up monotonously without judgment on ourselves, without judgment on the task, without judgment on results, without expectations, and to just show up and to have the discipline to, before taking action, to recording what we're going to do when we're going to do it, okay? Super important for all of the operations in your business going forward. So, happy calendaring, and I'm cheering you on.